Hey folks, George Leoniak here with New Spirituality. I'm back with another Doing Sacred Geometry video, a little bit more on some techniques. Today we're going to focus on the Hypercube, also known as the Tesseract, which is a 4D structure. Now I know that might sound a little advanced to some of you who might be new to sacred geometry, but I have searched around on the internet and haven't really seen a good video that describes how to draw this form with sacred geometry techniques. The other neat thing is that if you checked out my first video, it's going to build on the same structures, the same drawing techniques that we used previously. So, let me just do another intro for people new to this video. A few things that you'll need for this video are pretty much just the compass, simple compass, and a straight edge, a ruler. I tend to like this one that has the 2-inch width to the whole thing. So each of these little squares here is just an inch. That's kind of handy, and you'll see that that will be useful in this drawing. And then, an eraser, because nobody is perfect at doing these drawings. It's good to have one of these. And the mechanical pencil, and, either a sheet of paper, a drawing pad, or a sheet of paper. So let me just show you what this design is going to look like in the end. And you could see the lines underneath, the circles and various grid lines that are going to help find the points to highlight the darker black outlined area, which was done with just a fine tip marker. So that's the Tesseract, and I just want to describe in this first slide here in this video, what exactly is this and why is it so interesting and what is a 4D structure. So let me share the screen. Most of these videos I don't draw directly how I did this with hand, but I pretty much do this and then I'll follow the instructions and show you in the PowerPoint so you could stop it and see what I'm doing as we go. So here is the first slide here. And I just want to briefly describe what the dimensions are in a kind of mathematical sense when we're talking about, excuse me, dimensions. And, we're going to describe all the way up to the 4th dimension. And we start off with 0D, which is just a single point, okay? And the neat thing about this is we're just going to take another point, and that's going to be 1D. So if you were to look at this line straight on, all you would really see is just a point. So this is a 1D place from one connection to the other. Our 2D is just going to take 2 more points, add them to the bottom, and now we're going to make our square. So just like we draw a 2D square. And I'm going to bring in this axis thing here in a minute just to show you, but from pretty much our point, we've got 0 dimension. The first line, which we could call our x-axis here, is going to be the 1st dimension. When we bring this over here to our 2nd dimension, we now have 2 dimensions with the 4 points creating the square. So we've added the y-axis. And now this is what many of us are familiar with, of course, is 3D geometry. And that is corresponding to an x, y, and z axis. So if I bring this little line down here, line it up as best as possible, we'll see that we've got the z, which is coming towards off the page. The y and the x are just pretty much a right angle. Now what happens in the 4th dimension is that another line is meant to be perpendicular to all these other lines here. And that's a kind of confusing concept to get around, but essentially what we've done now is just like we've taken 2 lines and added two more points to create the square, we take 2 squares to create the 3D object. Now we're going to take 2 cubes and we're going to put them together like this, one here and one here. So those are the two cubes. And now we're going to draw a line across the W axis, which is going to connect the two corners, the outer corners of this blue square here. So this line is meant to be perpendicular to this one, to this one, to this one, to all the lines around it, creating a 8 cubic cell structure. So this 2 cubes actually becomes 8 within this structure. So this is the X, Y, and Z axis that fits right on there. So there aren't, in our 3D world, we're not used to seeing at all any of these fourth dimensional objects, but they are mind expansive and do help to perceive and see things differently when we start to think and look at these 4D objects. So that, I just wanted to give just a very little primer in this around the X, Y, Z, and W axis, and a little bit about what you're about to be drawing, because it's a little bit different, and I haven't seen it drawn with the techniques that we're going to be showing you here. So let's just jump into the video and do the instructional part. So here we are. We're just going to start off like we did in the last video. We're going to take with your piece of paper and your ruler, do a 2-inch line just like last time. So there's our 1D line. And we're going to draw the vesica shape, vesica Pisces. So we're going to take our compass needle and set it to either end of this 2-inch line. And then we're going to draw the circle, which is going to have a 4-inch diameter now. And then we're going to set our compass over here, and we'll draw another 4-inch circle. So from that point, we now can determine our center point by going from the football-shaped vesica, drawing a line straight through the center where it bisects the 2-inch line. And then we can draw our first circle within that space, because now we have the center. So that's going to be a 1-inch diameter circle. All right, so we got a 2-inch line. That's going to be a 2-inch diameter circle. 2-inch diameter circle, 4-inch diameter circles here, creating the 2-inch diameter circle in the middle. Now what I like to do is extend these lines out. What you can do here is just set your compass up to the outer edge of the 4-inch circle. So set it up in the middle, extend it all the way out to the side here, and that's going to give you now a 6-inch diameter circle. And we can extend our lines outward all the way to connect with the outer circle. So we've got the 6-inch circle, the 4-inch, and the 2-inch circles. All right, the next step is we're going to set up the corners. And this is just a recap of the previous video. So we're building off the same techniques, because we're going to take 4 1-inch diameter circles, and we're going to draw those at the, hold on, wait till this little thing stops going. We're going to draw those right at the top of this circle here. We're going to place our compass where it meets this line going through, and we'll draw a circle here, and we're going to create this 4-petal design when we create all these circles that are all going to meet in the center point all the way around. Now that's going to give us the ability to draw a cube in there at the tips of where the 8, so we got 4 directions, the sub-cardinal directions here. They're going to go through the flower petals and at the flower petal intersections. Last video, we didn't draw this 2-inch cube, but that's going to go around the 2-inch circle in the middle, and it's going to be a 2x2 cube. So we're going to be doing that in this video, is using those cubes that are going to be created in the middle. So next step is we're going to We're gonna create another ring of circles here besides the original 4 we have, and those are gonna be connected to the off cardinal directions, same thing as the last video, and they're gonna meet in the center. So we're gonna have 8 circles going around here, and you're gonna find that location along this red line, and where it intersects the blue, that's where you'll place your compass marker to draw 4 more of those. So you'll have this double flower petal arrangement when you're done in the middle. And just like we did with the previous one, we're going to also draw another square in the middle. So we've just created, an octagon shape if we connected all these outer sides. So that circle in the middle now has 2 squares surrounding it, one rotated 45 degrees and the other one just oriented the 90-degree way. So now this is where we kind of branch out a little bit further to start to create this tesseract image, is we're going to go off of the squares that we've drawn in the middle, and I want you to extend that line all the way through till it hits the 6-inch diameter circle here. All right, so just go straight along there and draw another one straight along here. We're basically setting up a little grid work to find the points for the tesseract to draw it accurately. So we're going to do that here, and then we're going to do that on all the square edges. Okay, so when you're done, you're going to have this double cross effect here. 1, 2, those are the first ones, up and down. So we've completed the first square. Now we've got to do the 45-degree angled square, the one that's tilted. We're going to go all the way to the edge. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so you've just added 8 lines that go off those squares all the way to the outside. Now that was an important step because the next phase we're going to get into here is going to start to draw the squares for the tesseract. Because essentially the tesseract is a very simple method to do it, is we're just going to create squares around it that meet on the outer edges. Now in order to do that, you've got to find these points. Cancel. Let me zoom in just a little bit. You have to find these points here, which are why we did these cross lines. And I'm going to show you another slide, but in a second, it's going to show you where these crossing lines are. But we're going to create 4 nodal points that are going to give us a 2x2 square, which means that that will also be able to put another 2-inch circle within inside that 2-inch square. It's just like offset from the original one, but this is the correct placement to draw the tesseract. It needs to be offset, and these are the nodal points where we're going to find it. And the circle can be drawn by just placing your compass at the point of this flower petal here. So you can go around and do that first if you like. You can draw all the circles by just going to the tips of these flower points and drawing the 2-inch diameter circle all the way around. So our next slide is just going to zoom in on that just a little bit more. So you're able to, I removed a lot of the other image because I just want you to really focus on where those nodal points are. So if I remove it, I have it set up. So we've got these lines that are crossing, and right where they meet kind of at this little V shape here on either end, that's one section where we're going to draw a line across on your piece of paper. This line is already there, these long ones. And then where they meet at this section, here and here, that's where you draw your other line going across. And these 2 circles here correspond to the tip of the flower point. So those 5 points allow you to draw the square and the circle accurately at those places. Now you've done that once. The next thing you'll have to do is draw that. This is what it looks like. I've removed some of the other circles, which we don't need anymore. Next thing you'll do is have to draw another one below it, like this here. So same thing, meeting the little V's at the end, meeting the cross sections right here. So you've got another square here. And now you're going to do the horizontal ones. Same process, little node points all the way around. You can draw your circle if you like. So now we've got 4. These circles are going to be touching one another. That's how you know you're on track, because these are not going to be overlapping at all. And then the last group, of course, are the subcardinal directions here. If this is north, now you're adding the northeast and the northwest. So we're going to add those two in there, and then the southwest quadrant and the southeast quadrant, and east, south, west, and north. So you've created a nice structure to create the Bagua diagram of the I Ching, if you'd like to. So now you have the whole layout, and I know there's a lot of lines. Your paper will probably be looking quite busy, so what I'd recommend, if you want to just focus on the tesseract or the lines at this point, or do a number of drawings, I would just use your sharp, your fine tip pen, and just trace in the lines that are these squares that you just did. All right, and that's going to look like, this is when I remove some more lines, but let me just get to that. So that's going to look like this. So now you have erased the rest of that once you've done your squares, because remember, all it is just a bunch of squares that have come together and connected. So the corners of the squares connect there, and then the opposite corner from the one that's between it, they connect here. And now you've created that 4D image. Now this is one that is really kind of interesting to kind of puzzle over, contemplate, look at. You'll see a variety of different squares, different angles. You can turn it into a hexagon shape. You can turn it into a barrel, turning, looking one way, rolling this way, or rolling that way. So that is the method that I discovered that I found was pretty easy way to draw the tesseract in 4D shape, creating the X, Y, Z, and W axis that are contained in this to show what a 4D structure looks like in 2D. Now, of course, this image here that we're looking at is quite common if you're looking at 4D tesseract. Thing is, when you rotate this object in 3-dimensional space, all those lines and angles change dramatically. That's the thing about a 4D shape. It doesn't just look like this when you rotate it. It can continually changing its shapes based on those perpendicular lines. So it can also, it's contained 8 cubes. So, here's the tesseract, and I want to show you each of the 8 cubes and why it's considered to be made of 8 cubes. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold on, ran out of space there. 5. 5, 6, the 7th, and the 8th in the middle there. So we can just take the whole thing apart like that, and now you have your 8 cubes. They're essentially the same looking cube from all the different angles, just rotated around from a different view. So this one has just been turned from 45 degrees to 90 degrees, and it's constructed of all those different cubes in that way. The last slide that I wanted to show you here is that now that you've drawn that, you also can now have the template to draw the circles all in the middle if you just want to do that. And another form, which is actually a 3D form, called the rhombicuboctahedron. I'm going to show it to you close up in a minute. It's essentially the same basic outline of the tesseract. And that one looks, and the neat thing about that is that each of the square faces that are on that, if we were to pack that all with spheres, which would all be interlocking, they would all fall over, fit within this shape, just as we see the spheres outlined in here. So this is what that shape looks like. You know, it's a very simple shape to make. And the outline that I just presented to you just showed you how to make a really nice octagon and focus on these triangles and these squares. And, you know, I tend to find that this shape here, just with the spheres themselves, to also be a quite pleasing view. And you could, let's see, I can ungroup these here so we can just look at both of the patterns by themselves. Oh, that really ungrouped them. Anyway, I think you'll get the picture of what I mean. You can do a lot of different things by erasing or focusing on different elements of the design. So let me stop the share and just wrap up the video. This is the rhombicuboctahedron. Let me get the light here a little bit better. So this is now, you know, a shape that is a 3D model. It's not the Tesseract per se, but it's built on a lot of the same geometry, or the outline of it is at least, with the square face and the triangular, you know, there the lighting is finally better, with the triangular sides. So there's that one. And just to show just a couple more of the drawings, once you have the Tesseract done, you can pull out those different cube shapes that I was showing you if you'd like. And the outline template for the rhombicuboctahedron. So I hope you found that video instructional and helpful in drawing the 4D shape, and just a little bit of a primer on the world of 4D shapes, and then you can get into the 5D and 6D and go on and on and on. But because I hadn't seen a technique that uses sacred geometry principles to draw that shape accurately, it just going over and doing these types of drawings over and over, you'll see how the same underlying patterns, let's say the Vesica Pisces, and the underlying rotating the squares and finding the square, those same principles are going to show up over and over again. So when I started just a few days ago trying to figure out how to draw the hypercube, I wasn't surprised that it linked to my previous video, and that everything was already contained in the design. And I think that's kind of the beauty of sacred geometry, is how to find the lines and kind of track them down and search and see what gets revealed in your pictures. So that's it for another session of the Doing Sacred Geometry. And let me know if the instructions on that were pretty clear and helpful. And thanks for watching. Talk to you later.